The 7th Free Them Freedom Walk to stop human trafficking in Canada is Saturday, September 21st here in Toronto. She's the founder, speaker, and executive committee of Free Them, an initiative dedicated to raising awareness and funds to abolish human trafficking in Canada and abroad by partnering with people and organizations and businesses to fight human trafficking and slavery today. Shae Invidiata joins us on Canada Now. Hey, Shae, it's great to have you back on the show.
Hey, Jeff. It's always good to be on. Thanks for having me.
Good. Our pleasure. Well, we've spoken before about human trafficking in Canada and how prevalent it actually is. Where are we at these days? Are we winning this battle or what?
It's an upwards hill battle, and as long as we're still going up that hill, then we're headed in the right direction. And so, there's always so much work to be done in Canada in terms of moving forward, tightening legislation, creating awareness, curriculum, all kinds of things. So the work doesn't stop, but we are definitely in the right direction from where we were, call it 5 years ago, even 10 years ago. So that's a win.
Well, we've talked about it in Canada, but I'm curious, being here in Toronto and with, the walk happening here in Toronto, how bad is this situation here in Toronto?
It's still something that the average Canadian could potentially be looking at a situation of human trafficking and really still have no idea what's taking place in front of them. Whether you're, out by Sherway Gardens and you drive by the motels there, and, if you take some time and you look at who's driving in and who's driving out, you might see things that look suspicious to being at a movie theater or out at the mall. And you could be potentially looking at a situation where a girl is being preyed upon or lured. And in your head, you might go, that doesn't look right. That's a weird situation. And not realize that you're looking at a potential victim of human trafficking.
Well, and Shae, I ask you this every time you come on, and I can't expect everybody to listen to every minute of this show, so I want to ask you repeatedly so that people can help. What do we look for? Because this is a situation that I'm sure the majority of people are not even aware of. If we are driving by a movie theater or driving around downtown or wherever we might be, what should we be looking for?
I always tell people right from the get-go that, our gut is a very powerful sense. And so that's kind of like the first thing. When you see a situation and you go, that kind of looks off, that is a reason to kind of slow down and maybe stay longer and pay attention. And so, you could be out at the mall and seeing older guys coming up to an individual girl. It could be a group of girls, especially for parents with their kids in high school. The average age of entry into forced prostitution in Canada is 13 years old. And so, we are definitely looking at high school students and even younger to be the main target demographic for pimps and traffickers that are usually between the ages of 18 to 25 that are preying on these younger females. And so when you see, as a parent, you see it could be your daughter's friends who starts dating, in her words, she's got an older boyfriend and is starting to feel very controlled, lack of choices in her decisions, coming home with potential, lots of gifts, whether it's handbags, new clothes, always being able to go out and not have to pay for anything. And I think I've shared this with you before. When you think of an 18 to a 24-year-old just having the ability to purchase whatever they want, whenever they want, for whoever they want, that's not normal. And I've brought up my brother before. Like, my brother, when he was that age and he had a girlfriend at the time, there's no way that my brother could go out and buy designer handbags all the time and you out for dinners or out to the movies endlessly on a normal 18 to 25-year-old kind of income. And the question is also too, why aren't you in university or some type of post-secondary education? And so these kind of scenarios where you see females where they start getting gifts, they come home with their boyfriend's quote unquote name tattooed on their body in very visible areas. And these are some of the things we look for. Other markings, whether it's using It could be cigarette burns, that different abuse tactics that are used by the pimp or trafficker to keep the female under their control and under their domain. And so again, too, if you are driving by, bringing up the motel, you see who's driving in and who's driving out, and there's not too many young girls that want to hang out at a Motel 6 or at a Travelodge or at a Holiday Inn in the middle of the afternoon or even in the evening by themselves. And so just that alone, when you see that, for me, I take extra time to kind of see what else is happening in that situation. And it's really important for your listeners and even for myself, for us to, if we see something, we want to call it in. As much as you want to try to help the situation and maybe intervene, one, you put yourself at high risk and not being safe for yourself, but you also put the girl at risk because if she doesn't end up being able to escape, you just cause more harm to her, and that can cause the attention and the attraction. So I always tell people, call into the human trafficking task force in your area, whether you're in Toronto, if you're in York, wherever people are listening, call it in. And if you don't want to give your name and information, completely understand that. Call it into Crime Stoppers. It's a fabulous resources that the police will use to locate victims of trafficking.
Shae, great advice, and really appreciate all of that. What can we expect from the Freedom Walk on September 21st?
Yeah, so we're really excited. As you shared, it's our 7th annual coming up, and we really love the biggest one yet in Toronto and really in Canada. And it's a great morning where we have all demographics and different people from all over different communities that come together to be able to learn and become educated on the issue of trafficking. And you'll hear from survivors that morning. You'll hear from law enforcement. You'll hear from politicians. So you get different perspectives on human trafficking happening right here in Toronto and also across Canada. So it's a very high-level morning, very inspirational, and the walk allows you to become part of that solution. So you're learning about the problem, you're learning about the issue, but then we tangibly go out and we do something about it that morning and raising awareness. There's opportunities for people to donate as well right on the page, so the walkers can choose to raise money. They're not obligated to. It's not a requirement for us. But we are trying to raise $100,000 this year. So absolutely that morning, you can raise funds, you can walk with us. And also given the nature of the topic, I always feel that it's important to share with people that it's a kid-friendly morning. And so while the ceremony is going on and you're hearing from survivors and law enforcement and so forth, we have a whole other kid zone that happens. So that in a child-appropriate way, children know that we're walking that morning for kids who are not treated nicely, that are being hurt, that maybe don't have good mummies and daddies, or don't have mummies and daddies at all. And so we encourage you to bring your children, bring the strollers, bring the wagon. It's not an intense walk. Again, I shared, the average age of entry is 13 in Canada, which means there's too many that are 7, 8, 9, and 10 years old. So we're working that morning for them, so we want those little people to be there with us. And so that's really the whole morning. And by the time the ceremony completes, we're all inspired and empowered and really ready to go out and walk with a purpose.
Freedom.ca. Check that out. Founder of Freedom, Shae Invidiata. Shae, it's always a pleasure. Really appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much, and enjoy Saturday, September 21st.
Thank you so much, Jeff.
Thank you. Freedom.ca, and funds raised will be going to the Aurora House to support housing for sex trafficking victims.